At the time of the signing of a peace treaty with the Ottoman Empire in 1590, the Iranian Shah Abbas I understood that as soon as he could restore his strength, he would try to recapture the lost territories. For this reason, after the conclusion of peace, he directed all his efforts to strengthening his own army and began to wait for the right moment to start a new war. The right moment came soon enough. In 1593, another Austro-Turkish war began, which turned out to be quite long and required the Ottoman Empire to concentrate most of its army on the European continent. In the meantime, Shah Abbas formed a guard corps of cavalry, as well as regiments of musketeers. Having increased the combat capability of his army with the help of reforms, Shah Abbas first of all decided to secure his eastern borders. To do this, he launched a campaign against the Shaybanids, who, having previously taken advantage of the instability in Iran, managed to seize vast territories. Competently assessing the power of the new army of the Shah of Iran, the Shaybanids did not dare to fight it in an open battle, but on August 9, 1598, Shah Abbas overtook the Shaybanid army in the open area and, as a result of a bloody battle, defeated it. Thus, the Safavids returned the territories they had lost earlier and eliminated the threat from the Shaybanid state, thanks to which Shah Abbas was able to focus on the fight against the Ottoman Empire. In 1603, the Ottoman Sultan Mehmed III dies, which further weakened the Ottoman Empire, which was bogged down in battles with the Austrians. By the time of the ascension to the throne of the new Sultan Ahmed I, the Zalali turmoil was raging on the territory of almost the entire Anatolia. Shah Abbas decided to take advantage of this, who, without encountering serious resistance, managed to regain control over a significant part of the territories that the Ottomans occupied following the results of the previous war. In turn, the Ottoman Sultan, in order to suppress the uprising and return the territories occupied by the Safavids, ordered Sigilazade Yusuf Sinan Pasha at the head of his army to advance towards Erzurum. Having learned about the campaign of the Ottoman army, Shah Abbas ordered his people to destroy all the crops between Kars and Erzurum in order to leave the enemy army without food. In turn, the Ottomans, having learned about the actions of the army of Shah Abbas, began to pursue it in order to defeat it in battle. Very soon, the Ottoman army began to experience a serious shortage of food, which is why the Janissaries revolted and refused to move on. In this situation, Yusuf Sinan Pasha was forced to stop pursuing the enemy, who retreated deep into the territory of Iran and stopped for the winter in the city of Van. During the winter, the Ottomans began to actively attract Kurdish emirs from the border regions to their side, planning in the spring to increase the size of their army at the expense of Kurdish detachments. During the winter, Yusuf Sinan Pasha was forced to deploy his army in different settlements, leaving only a small number of detachments with him in the city of Van. Shah Abbas decided to take advantage of this. In early May 1605, while the Ottoman detachments did not have time to gather after wintering, he sent his army led by Aliverdi Khan to besiege Van, in which Yusuf Sinan Pasha was located. It should be mentioned that the commander of the Ottoman army did not consider the Safavids a serious enemy and neglected the traditional precautions. For this reason, the Ottomans learned that the Safavid army would only attack when it was only a day's journey from Van. At the moment when the advanced detachments of the Safavid army reached the outskirts of the city, the Ottomans made a sortie and attacked them, but after the main forces of the Safavids approached, they were forced to return under the protection of the fortress walls. Having learned that reinforcements from Erzurum were coming to help the Ottomans blocked in Van, the Safavids sent part of their army to meet the Ottoman reinforcements. Meanwhile, the Ottomans made a sortie from Van, but without achieving any result, they returned to the city again. Yusuf Sinan Pasha was waiting for reinforcements in the hope of repulsing the enemy army from Van with his help, but very soon he received the news that the detachments that had left Erzurum were defeated by the Safavid army sent by him to Kut. Realizing that the position of the Ottoman troops in Van was getting worse every day, Yusuf Sinan Pasha, in order to avoid capture, secretly left the city on a boat and headed for Erzurum. Having received the news that the commander of the Ottoman army left Van, the Safavids decided to lift the siege of the city and return to their territory. Meanwhile, Yusuf Sinan Pasha began to raise an army to begin a campaign deep into Iranian territory. Already in November 1605, the Ottoman army set out on a campaign intending to take the city of Tabriz. The Ottoman commander wasted no time and, thanks to an alliance with the Kurdish emirs, he managed to gather under his banners a huge army, consisting of 100,000 soldiers. Since Shah Abbas had no more than 60,000 soldiers at his disposal, he decided to avoid a direct confrontation with the Ottomans and wait for the right moment for a surprise attack. The Safavid army secretly moved along a parallel route, but at the same time did not attempt to attack the enemy. Since the Safavids managed to destroy the food supplies on the route of the Ottoman army, they planned to attack the enemy only after he weakened, but it turned out differently. On November 6, 1605, the Ottoman army set up camp near the village of Sufian, located near Tabriz. Even though the Shah did not intend to start a battle, he still formed his army into battle formations, positioning it behind the hills so that the Ottoman lookouts could not detect it. Nevertheless, during the formation of battle formations, the Safavid vanguard reached the top of the hill, after which it was noticed in the Ottoman camp. Realizing that they were noticed by the enemy, the commander of the Safavid vanguard ordered his people to retreat behind the hill. In turn, the Ottomans thought that the enemy was afraid of their army and therefore, without prior preparation, sent their cavalry to attack. In turn, the Safavids did not expect such a swift attack of the enemy and therefore the blow of the Ottoman cavalry took them by surprise. Nevertheless, despite the powerful blow of the Ottoman horsemen, the Safavid vanguard was able to maintain battle formations and began to resist. Under the onslaught of the Ottomans, the Safavids began to back away. At this time, Shah Abbas, having learned about the attack of the Ottoman cavalry, ordered his people to maneuver and attack the enemy's flank. The Safavid vanguard fought bravely, but the onslaught of the Ottoman cavalry did not weaken. But at that moment the Safavid horsemen hit their flank. The blow of the Safavid cavalry on the Ottoman cavalry, bogged down in the battle, turned out to be a complete surprise for her. The Ottomans tried to resist, but since they could not recover from a powerful flank attack, after some time the remnants of the Ottoman cavalry hastily retreated to the camp. Despite the fact that the Ottoman cavalry attacking the Safavid vanguard was defeated, the Ottoman army was not defeated, since only part of it participated in the attack. The Safavids, in turn, did not pursue the retreating enemy, but instead began preparations for an attack on the Ottoman camp. The Ottomans also hesitated, as they decided to wait for reinforcements from Aleppo, and after his arrival, attack and defeat the enemy with all their might. At night, the Kurdish Beks tried to talk with Yusuf Sinan Pasha about further plans for the conduct of hostilities, but the commander of the Ottoman army refused to talk to them. Having been refused, the Kurdish Beks, together with their people, hastily left the Ottoman camp. The next day, the Ottoman commander tried to raise the morale of his troops, which was undermined by the departure of the Beks. But since he did not dare to attack the enemy before the arrival of reinforcements, the morale of his army began to fall rapidly in the evening. On the morning of the next day, rumors began to spread around the camp that the Safavids were attacking and had already captured the cannons. A panic began during which the commander of the Ottoman army, along with the Janissaries and close associates, hastily left the camp and advanced towards the city of Van. In turn, the Safavids did not dare to attack the camp, and only after making sure that the enemy had retreated, they occupied it. After the flight of the remnants of the Ottoman army, the Safavids began a campaign in Transcaucasia, liberating one city after another and not encountering serious resistance. Very soon, the Safavids managed to regain control over Nakhichevan and Erivan. In turn, the Ottomans found themselves in a very difficult position. After the destruction of the army of Yusuf Sinan Pasha, they did not have enough strength to stop the advance of the Safavid army. At the same time, they also could not transfer fresh forces from Europe. In this situation, the Ottomans tried to make peace with the Safavids, but Shah Abbas said that he would agree to peace only if the Ottomans returned all the territories received as a result of the last war. Despite the fact that large-scale hostilities ceased, the war between the Ottomans and the Safavids continued. By 1611, the Ottomans began to concentrate an army on the border with Iran and wait for the right moment to attack the Safavids. Meanwhile, Shah Abbas offered to make peace, and the Ottomans, who had not yet had time to gather enough strength for a new attack on Iran, agreed. The peace treaty was concluded on November 20, 1612. This agreement fixed the current borders, but at the same time, the Safavids were obliged to pay tribute to the Ottomans in the form of 200 bales of silk. There was a temporary truce, and since Shah Abbas was not even going to pay the promised tribute, the Ottomans began preparations for a new war. In April 1616, the Ottoman army under the command of Oğuz Mehmed Pasha invaded the territory of the Safavids and laid siege to the city of Erivan. Since the Safavids, knowing about the upcoming attack, the Ottomans managed to strengthen Erivan, the siege of the city did not bring the desired result to the Ottomans. Due to the fact that the garrison of the city fought bravely, and the Ottomans lacked siege artillery, Mehmed Pasha was forced to lift the siege and return to his territory after some time. In 1618, the Ottoman army under the command of Oğuz Mehmed Pasha again invaded Iran. This time, the Ottomans planned to capture Tabriz and Ardabil, and after that make peace with the enemy on their own terms. The plans of the Ottomans did not become a secret for Shah Abbas, who was well aware that he would not be able to defeat a numerically superior enemy in an open battle. Therefore, he withdrew his troops deep into Iran, leaving Tabriz with little or no protection. In turn, the Ottomans occupied Tabriz without meeting resistance, after which they sent an ambassador to Shah Abbas demanding peace. The Shah refused, so the Ottoman army advanced towards Ardabil. Since the Ottomans occupied Tabriz without a fight, they did not expect to meet the resistance of the Safavids on the way to Ardabil and therefore lost their vigilance. Not far from Ardabil, the Ottoman army was ambushed and, as a result of a bloody battle, having suffered a crushing defeat, was forced to retreat. Despite the defeat, the Ottomans managed to quickly restore the combat capability of their army. Very soon, the Ottomans continued their offensive and their troops, having reached the outskirts of Ardabil, began the siege of the city. In this situation, Shah Abbas was forced to make peace with the Ottoman Empire. According to the terms of the peace treaty, the Safavids retained the previously occupied territories, but pledged to pay tribute in the amount of 100 bales of silk. If you like this video, be sure to subscribe to my channel and click on the bell so as not to miss new videos.